Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bailey Hall. We ask that you take this opportunity to notice the emergency exit nearest your seat. And out of consideration for your fellow patrons and the presenters on stage, please refrain from using electronic devices, including cell phones and laptop computers. And now, please give a warm welcome to the class of 2012 co-presidents Olivia Moore and John Rhee.
That was a pretty cool video, huh? Good morning, everyone. We are very impressed to see so many faces after a long night of beer and boogieing on the Art Squad, so congratulations for being here. We are John Rhee and Olivia Moore, the co-presidents of the class of 2012. Even though we graduated last year, we couldn't stay away from campus for too long. I mean, we graduated 1 year ago, and we're already attending a second reunion, Cornell's first ever Reunion 1, after last year's Cornell's Reunion 0. So we are here to introduce an incredible Cornell leader. But before doing so, we want to take a moment to recognize Provost Kent Fox and his wife, Linda, for joining us today. When we were approached by Alumni Affairs to introduce the president, we were honored, but unsure about what to say. What factoids could we possibly add about the president that have not already been said by someone more experienced than us? Yes, he's charismatic and photographs pretty well. However, after much deliberation, we kept coming back to a single attribute that President Skorton continues to demonstrate beyond all expectations: leadership. He embodies and models three critical characteristics of strong leadership: passion, innovation, and humility.
His passion is inspiring. We first met President Skorton through our work with the senior class campaign. From our first kickoff event, his enthusiasm for Cornell was obvious and contagious. We experienced firsthand his commitment to financial aid when he helped establish a $100,000 endowed scholarship in our class's name to assist and develop future generations of Cornellians. His innovation. During his tenure at Cornell, President Skorton had succeeded in constantly improving Cornell in all its major locations: Ithaca, New York City, and Qatar. For example, he has overseen the construction of both a physical sciences building and Gates Hall, pushing Cornell's cutting-edge sciences to new fronts, while ensuring that the humanities are elevated to just as high a standard through the new Klarman Hall. And, of course, Cornell Tech and partnership with Technion is an obvious expression of his innovation. President Skorton has encouraged us as engaged alumni and Cornellians in our communities to go out on a limb and to try new things. Lastly, President Skorton has exemplified what it means to lead with humility. He once said, quote, "What can I offer Cornell? Two things and two things only: a careful listening, translation, and support of the vision of Cornellians, and a reestablishment and strengthening of the optimism that underlines our every action," end quote. President Skorton teaches us that as young alumni leaders, we have to be a positive force and patient listeners.
At Pitzer College's 2013 commencement ceremony, John Lovett, former presidential speechwriter and sitcom creator, said something that we think encapsulates our experience as young leaders. He said, "You have to be confident in your potential and aware of your inexperience." We think that that's an incredibly powerful statement as we, two very young Cornellians, stand in front of a room of alumni spanning multiple generations. Many of you play a key role at Cornell and in your respective communities. But your passion, drive for innovation, and humility are what make you great. We are so thankful to the Cornell alumni who serve on behalf of our beloved alma mater. And now it is our distinct pleasure to introduce the man we look up to, the 12th president of Cornell University, President David J. Skorton.
How about these guys, huh? Well, thank you guys. It's great to see you again. And as a wonderful introduction, you made me feel so good. I'm going to forget about that humility stuff. This is really cool. Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to Reunion 2013. Whoa. Whether you are celebrating your 5th or your 75th, or you're in a class of 2012 celebrating Reunion 1, like these two wonderful young people. Well, youngish people. Or if you're in a class of 2013 celebrating Reunion 0. And whether you arrive by foot or bicycle or skateboard or kayak or car or plane or the special reunion bus from New York City, whether you are connecting again with an undergraduate class or a professional school class or a graduate program, or a special interest alumni association, or the continuous reunion group, the hardest partying people around. Oh yeah. And whether you're here in Ithaca or watching this live streamed, whatever that is, from somewhere else, excuse me, I know all about that, not. We are delighted that you are with us on this glorious weekend. It's just missing a little tiny bit. It isn't even Ithacating, and it's going to be really nice later in the day. Really nice. The Cornell Alumni website, as you saw, says then, now, always Cornell. And what I've learned in these 7 years is here, there, everywhere, Cornell. What is it that makes Cornell so unforgettable to those who have spent time on the Hill, either a year ago or a half a century ago? As I've listened to so many of you and others this weekend and at events on and off campus and literally all around the world over the last 7 years, it is clear that Cornell's magic is some combination of outstanding faculty, extraordinary students, talented staff, wonderful facilities, the culture and ambience of Ithaca and Tompkins County, and opportunities to grow as human beings through so many varied activities, of course inside, but also outside the classroom. From the more than, get ready for this, 1,000 registered student organizations, 1,017 in fact, to athletics, to volunteerism for public service, it is wonderful to have you back here again to experience that magic. And I want to depart just for a moment from the main messages today to say that when we're talking about the student experience, there's nobody who has made it more meaningful over the last several years, couple of decades, than Class of 73, Dr. Susan Murphy. Well, what is the state of the university? By almost any measure, and by virtually all measures, the university today is very strong, emerging from a few years of extraordinary stress and extraordinary challenge. Our students achieve very impressive things, again, inside and outside of the classroom, including this year 2 Rhodes Scholars and a record 28 Fulbright U.S. Student Program awardees to conduct research or teach abroad in 2013-14. When I left the Pac-10 and the Big Ten to come to the Ivy League, I was told, well, they really don't have athletics in the Ivy League. Not really. It's a ladies and gentlemen's thing. It's not really athletics. But we know better, don't we? The men's Big Red lacrosse team, as you know, earned a place last month in the NCAA Final Four Championship. And this year, my favorite scientific journal, Sports Illustrated, has decided to inaugurate a student athlete of the year. And the male inaugural Sports Illustrated Student Athlete of the Year is not from the Pac-10 or the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC. It is Kyle Dake, Cornell class of 13. Kyle Dake, amazing. Don't you worry, Cornellians, I got a lot of copies of the SI going out to my buddies all around the country at those big athletic conferences. I just want us to get one next year, too. So, my most important statistic to address and to assess the state of the university is, do bright young people want to come here? And for the class starting this August, the class of 2017, a little shy of 3,200 strong, we had 40,000 applications. 40,000 applications for 3,000 spots. How many are glad we're not applying this year? Yeah. This is an increase of 96% in the last decade, and the admission rate was 15%, 1-5. So it's amazing. The campus, as was mentioned a few minutes ago, has been greatly enhanced with new and sustainably designed and built buildings, from the Physical Sciences Building to the beautiful headquarters for human ecology. And just a few weeks ago, as was mentioned, we broke ground for Klarman Hall, our new humanities building, scheduled for completion in 2015. This is the first capital project at Cornell University solely for the humanities since 1905. At Weill Cornell Medical College, the Belfer Research Building, which will double the college's research space, actually slightly more than double it, and will enable us to vastly expand so-called bench-to-bedside research, translational research that takes things out of the laboratory and to the bedside and to patient care, is scheduled to be completed at the end of this year. And before the next reunion weekend, before next year, bulldozers will be active at the future site of Cornell Tech, the graduate level applied sciences campus we're developing on Roosevelt Island in New York City. Yep. Although Olivia and John were very gracious this morning, the credit for Cornell Tech goes to our wonderful provost, Kent Fox. One more time. Now, the first buildings at Cornell Tech won't be done until 2017, so what are we to do? Well, Google, a small startup firm on the West Coast, does have a minor presence in New York City. They bought the Port Authority building, one of the largest buildings by square footage in New York, and they decided to give us, for 5 years, free space in the Google building, and which is really amazing. So that's another. Again, you have to give the credit to Kent Fox and Dan Huttenlocker and Kathy Dove and Lance Collins, people who do not know how to take no for an answer. And the final thing I'll mention is that our budget is on a sustainable and balanced trajectory. We're making that balance somewhat because of increased revenue from tuition and from philanthropy, which has been breathtaking from you and your colleagues, and some because of a shrinking of our workforce. And we're back in equilibrium again, and with liquidity sufficient to begin to grow those parts of the university that need to grow, and I'll come back to that later. Now, any one of these indicators, any one of these topics could easily be the subject of this State of the University address. But today, I will focus on one thing, and that is the faculty. Because faculty renewal is the first priority of Cornell's strategic plan going from 2010 to 2015, and our first priority as we all approach Cornell's sesquicentennial. So many of you, I know, have warm memories of professors that you knew at Cornell. People like Walt Lefebvre and Mary Beth Norton, Al George and Christine Shoemaker, George Hudler and Jerry Gay, Ken McLean and John Kleinberg, Lois Pollock and Peter Katzenstein, Ross Brand and Raoul Hoffman, David Feldschuh and Glenn Altshuler, and many, many others across all the schools and all the colleges who awakened an interest, ignited a spark, provided a foundation of knowledge, opened doors, guided you. Yes, let's hear it for the faculty of Cornell University. Since the founding of Cornell in 1865, the faculty, of course, have been the heart of the university, and they continue to make Cornell the acclaimed and obviously very heavily sought-after institution that it is. Many of you saw some of the faculty in action yesterday on faculty panels around the campus, and anybody go to the Olin lecture, that eloquent lecture by Fred Logeval? Amazing, amazing. And Fred, as you know, is the John S. Knight Professor of International Studies and Cornell's most recent recipient of the Pulitzer Prize. And Fred was recently named by Provost Fox to be the next Vice Provost for International Relations. And besides celebrating Cornell faculty, and besides the stimulation to rethink such a challenging era in the life of our country, if there was ever a more eloquent demonstration of the fact that this country needs to continue to invest in the social sciences and the humanities, that was Fred Logeval, that's for sure. Well, by virtually every measure, from students inspired to awards received to works published to art and music created and global challenges addressed, Cornell faculty today in 2013 are at the top of their game and at or near the top of the country in every discipline. But, like all of us, they are getting older. Well, when I say all of us, I don't mean the people in this room, but I mean most of us. About a decade ago, in fall 2002, about 30% of the faculty were 55 and over, and last fall, over 43% were 55 and over, and more than 13% were in the 65 to 74 age range. Now, some faculty members, like some staff members, like so many of us around the country, put off retirement because of the Great Recession, but demography really counts. And over the next decade, we expect to have to recruit about a third of our faculty and about a third of our superb staff. That presents us with a dilemma, but a once-in-a-generation opportunity to maintain strength across all major areas of this university and of knowledge, while building leadership in selected areas of strategic importance. And we are seizing the moment. In the last 2 years alone, because of the skillful management of the budget and because of the drive to get ahead of this impending wave of retirements, we have hired nearly 150 new faculty in Ithaca and 170 at Weill Cornell Medical College. But these are dry statistics. Numbers that don't tell us just who these fascinating, energetic people are. So let me introduce you to just a small sampling of the many, many remarkable individuals who have recently joined the faculty ranks of your alma mater. Some are rising stars who have come to Cornell from doctoral programs and postdoctoral experiences at some of the best institutions anywhere in the world. Others are distinguished scholars with proven track records who left senior positions elsewhere, very prestigious senior positions at very prestigious institutions, because of opportunities available to them at Cornell, and because Cornell is not the only, but one of the few major research institutions in the country that is growing in selected disciplines. All of these new faculty, like all of their colleagues, 3,000 strong across our campuses, are setting Cornell on a course toward an even more excellent and exciting future. And they are representative of a much larger pool of new faculty who have joined us this year, those that I'm going to describe this morning, and are already making a difference throughout every corner of the university. In Ithaca, in Geneva, in New York City, in Qatar, and every other place that people like to wear red. Among our senior faculty recruits, and I didn't say old, I said senior, which I like that term because I get into movies like Way Cheaper, so it's cool. Among these senior faculty recruits are 3 new Cornell deans. Now I'm going to start with a reunioner who is just so happy he came back she decided to become the dean of the largest college, Gretchen Ritter, who is celebrating her 30th Cornell reunion as part of the great class of '83. Before I talk about Gretchen, I want to say the class of '83 already has a reputation as a very troublesome and loud group. I mean, you really do. This is what I'm talking about. I almost lost my voice trying to yell over the class of '83 at the reception where they supposedly were happy to see me. I see some of the leaders sitting right out there. So it was quite a rowdy crowd, and they were pretty happy to have Gretchen there. So she'll become the Harold Tanner Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, succeeding Peter Lepage on August 1. And can we take a moment, friends, to recognize and thank Peter Lepage for 10 years of extraordinary visionary leadership. Peter. Gretchen is currently Professor of Government and Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education and Faculty Governance at the University of Texas at Austin, one of the nation's great institutions. A third-generation Cornellian, she'll be the college's first female dean. It's about time. And its first, and very, very interesting, its first externally hired dean. And we're looking forward to welcoming her back to campus in her new role. Welcome home, Gretchen. In the Samuel Curtis Johnson Graduate School of Management, Sumitra Dutta succeeded Joe Thomas last July as the Ann and Elmer Linseth Dean. Sumitra came to Cornell after 23 years at INSEAD, which to say INSEAD is top ranked is an understatement. It's a fabulous institution, a graduate business school in Fontainebleau. And he's an authority, besides many things in business, of the impact of new technology on the business world, especially social media and social networking. Like I said that like I understand it. It was so impressive. And on strategies for driving growth and innovation, two of the bywords of our age, by embracing the digital economy. And he's already in 1 year beginning to lead Johnson in new directions, including internationally. Sumitra, please be recognized. The other terrific thing about Sumitra is that he's my neighbor, sort of catty corner across the street, and they're having like a block party next week. So when all of you are back home and, you know, doing whatever you're doing, we'll be doing whatever we want at the block party. Now, joining Cornell on July 1 will be Chaim Hirsch, Professor and Chair of Computer Science at Rutgers University, who will become the new Dean of Computing and Information Science. Chaim's not here this morning, but I want to tell you a bit about him. He's an expert in artificial intelligence and data mining, succeeding Dan Huttenlocher, who now is Vice Provost and founding Dean of Cornell Tech in New York City. Chaim will lead the Faculty of Computing and Information Science. This is a unique college-level unit that comprises, as many of you know, computer science, information science, statistical science, and that engages literally with all the colleges and schools around the campus. These three new senior-level colleagues are important additions to the university with a vision and leadership to guide Cornell toward an even more promising future. And let's not underestimate the challenges present still in our society, financially, economically, and socially. And they're taking the helm of these schools at a challenging time, and I'm very confident that they will help lead us in the right direction. And they are joined by talented, even younger faculty, many of them hired as part of the $50 million Faculty Renewal Sesquicentennial Challenge. This was created by Vice President for Alumni Affairs and Development Charlie Flager, and the idea was to get ahead of impending retirements, since we can't predict when those retirements are going to occur, by hiring ahead of those retirements sharing the cost of doing so with friends of Cornell so that every dollar put in through philanthropy is matched by $1 from the deans of the colleges and schools. And of this $50 million challenge, it's supposed to go over 5 years, of which we're just finishing the third year, we're already raised over $40 million thanks to your generosity. And I thank all of you and your generous friends. We already are well on the way toward renewing the faculty of Cornell University. Well, let's talk about a few of these people, just really quickly. And let's jump around to some of the colleges and start with the College of Engineering, my college. Elian Bitar is a David Kroll Class of 70 Sesquicentennial Faculty Fellow and is now an Assistant Professor in Electrical and Computer Engineering. Research interests include stochastic control, optimization, and game theory, and one of the projects explores how to facilitate the integration of renewable energy resources like wind and solar into the power grid, which sounds terrific, and it's a very hard thing to do because the demand for power and the effectiveness of these energy sources vary in ways that are not predictable. And if you think I'm exaggerating about not predictable, just look at the weather forecast a week from now and then see what happens that day. He's bringing undergraduates deeply into his research through the department's Early Career Research Scholars Program. What a fabulous idea for the department, for the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering, to have an early undergraduate research program. In ILR, Alina Belogolovsky is the Ken DiPietro Class of 81 Faculty Fellow and Assistant Professor of Human Resource Studies. And at a time like we're going through in the world still, with a 7.5% unemployment rate in this country, or 7.6 I guess it is now, there are few fields more important and more critical to the country than human resources. Elena was attracted to the ILR school after earning his doctorate from the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, yes, the same distinguished institution that is our partner institution on the Tech campus. And why did she leave to come here? Because, as she said, the ILR school is the best of its kind in the world. Her interest and expertise, fascinating, are in pay secrecy, secrecy of compensation, and its implications in organizations, especially organizations that limit employees' access to pay-related information. In the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, one of the very critical colleges, not only at Cornell but everywhere around the world, Julio Giordano is an assistant professor of animal science and the St. John Family Sesquicentennial Fellow in dairy cattle management. Julio's basic and applied research, which is on reproductive physiology in dairy cows, aims to generate simple, practical management plans that can improve the efficiency of dairy herds. And in upstate New York, ag is still king, and thanks to the work of people like him and people in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, this is the center of activity for yogurt in the country. And as a vegetarian, I got to tell you, I personally am supporting most of the upstate economy. Now, all of these recruits have not been in the sciences. In fact, through Peter Lepage's good work and Provost Fox's backing, we have hired many, many humanists and people in the arts. And just one example is Aishan Hutchinson, the Mehringauff Sesquicentennial Fellow, a native of Jamaica, who is a new assistant professor of English. His poetry and essays have appeared in such publications as Poetry, Poetry Review, Plowshares, Guernica, Granta, and Gulf Coast. And his first collection, he already has a collection, Far District, recently won the prestigious Penn Joyce Osterweil Award. Aishan teaches courses in creative writing, including the MFA Graduate Seminar in Poetry this past spring. And Cornell University continues to be one of the great world centers of poetry and creative writing. In the College of Human Ecology, Nathan Sprang, the Rebecca Q. and James C. Morgan Sesquicentennial Fellow, is an assistant professor of human development. He directs a laboratory of brain and cognition. Yes, not all of the work in neuroscience occurs at our medical school, although a lot of it does occur there. It also occurs right here on the Ithaca campus in human ecology. So Nathan is investigating the link between autobiography and imagination, how we conceive of the future, our own individual futures, and successfully navigate the social world. He's examining the dynamics of large-scale brain networks, and we all hope that we have large-scale brain networks for years to come, and how they change over the lifespan. We are going to all have large-scale brain networks for years to come, but John and Olivia, enjoy it while you got it. That's all I'm going to tell you. This past spring, Nathan taught a course on functional magnetic resonance imaging analysis, and next fall he'll be teaching a course on the human brain and mind. Now, speaking of Weill Cornell Medical College, Louis Cantley, one of the nation's top cancer researchers, one of the world's top cancer researchers, and a Cornell PhD, has come home and joined us as the Margaret and Herman Sokol Professor and Director of a newly established cancer center at Weill Cornell and New York Presbyterian Hospital. Lou came to us from Harvard and is leading efforts to employ precision medicine for cancer diagnosis and treatment. And what is precision medicine? Precision medicine is a way of assessing our heredity, our proclivities, our tendencies, so that diagnosis and treatment can be directed at just what you or I need, and not in a very general sense. Soon after he accepted this position at Cornell, Lou was named a winner of the inaugural $3 million Breakthrough Prize in the Life Sciences, designed to recognize not only excellence in research, but promise for the future. And in August, Dr. Augustine Choi will join Weill Cornell as chair of the Department of Medicine and as physician-in-chief at New York Presbyterian Hospital. Now, he is currently the Francis Professor of Medicine at Harvard Medical School, and let me digress for a moment. Are there anybody else, people here from Boston? Yeah. I want to reassure you, we are not going to take every good scientist out of Boston. I pledge to you today we are going to leave one good or decent scientist at every accredited institution of higher education in Boston. At least one, maybe more. It's possible that we'll leave more. Anyway, Augustine is currently Chief of Pulmonary and Critical Care Medicine at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, and he comes from Harvard, like Cantley, Harvard being a fully accredited institution of higher education. Augustine will lead one of the big departments at Cornell. At every university with a College of Medicine, the Department of Internal Medicine is the biggest department. It's my other department besides biomedical engineering. How big is internal medicine? There are 16 divisions and 1,700 faculty, physicians, and research staff scientists in this one department, and he's going to head it up. Now, finally, our first professor at Cornell Tech, in case you didn't hear about it some months ago, who is also a professor of public health at Weill Cornell, is Deborah Estrin. Previously, Deborah was a senior faculty member at UCLA. She's a pioneer in networked sensing, which uses mobile and wireless devices like your phone, which you're right now texting on to some pals of yours and saying you were lucky to sleep in. Which, that's okay, you're here now, so like what can you do? Anyway, to use these devices to collect and analyze real-time data about the physical world and the people who occupy it. Her current focus is on leveraging the availability of mobile devices and the cloud for health management. This is not the cloud in an Ithaca sense that's going to open up on you any second. This is a term for remote storage. Just forget about it. Anyway, Deborah came to Cornell with just a couple of accolades to her credit. She's a member of the National Academy of Engineering, one of Wired Magazine's 2012 50 People Who Will Change the World, and one of CNN's 10 Most Powerful Women in Tech. So people said, well, why were you leaving UCLA? You know, I grew up in LA, friends. There's 2 seasons out there, day and night. And she said, my entire career has been about applying technology to improve people's lives, so I couldn't resist the opportunity to help Cornell Tech create a new university model that removes the barriers between research and application. That is a visionary faculty member. For those who want to learn more about Cornell Tech, Kent Fox and I believe Dan Huttenlocker this afternoon are giving an update on the project at 3 p.m. at Statler Auditorium, not too far from here, and this event is open to all. So as I mentioned earlier, we are on the road toward renewing the faculty. And a couple more words about the faculty before I close and we have some Q&A. The late Harry Levin, who some of you remember as the William Keenan Professor of Psychology and Dean of Arts and Sciences from 74 to 78, once explained Cornell's approach to faculty hiring this way. I just love this quote. Our aim is to get the best faculty and turn them loose. They must be totally independent, responsible only to the quality of their teaching and their scholarship. All we ask of them is that they be geniuses. There is no better proof of the power of faculty genius to leave their mark than the fact that you are here today. You've honored us through achievements in your own professions and your communities, through your civic engagement and through your capacity for service, and most of all, through your presence here today and yesterday and this whole weekend. As you savor your time on campus during Reunion 2013, reconnecting with some of the people and places and programs that made your student years what they were, memorable enough to bring you back, you can be proud that your Cornell, our Cornell, has reached a new high point. Despite challenges, we've overcome the challenges and reached a new high point. Never in our history have we been stronger, academically, or better positioned to meet the needs of our students, and perhaps even more importantly, the challenges of a troubled world. With our focus on faculty and with your continuing engagement, we look forward to even greater achievements in the future. Classes of 3 and 8, all of you have come back for this glorious weekend. Welcome home. Okay, we have more than 10 minutes, which is time for a lot of questions or 1 or 2 nasty questions from the class of '83, whatever way you think you want to do it. So we have microphones down here, we have microphones up there. I understand that those on Facebook will not be asking questions today. I hope that's correct. You got to be kidding. What class are you from, pal?
1983.
Oh, 83, yeah. What a surprise, what a surprise. If the question's about Ritter, she's sitting right there. You can just ask her. What can I do for you?
You're welcome to defer to the question to her, but you talked about some of the very powerful women that you brought onto the faculty and administration, so congratulations to that, and congratulations, Gretchen. But how about the rest of your report card for faculty and administration and other minorities?
Okay, so here's our report card. We have a mixed report card at Cornell in terms of diversity in everything, in students, in faculty, in staff, in high-level administrators. We're doing much, much better on gender equity at Cornell than we ever did before. One of the examples of that was when Provost Fox was Dean of the College of Engineering. He and other colleagues competed successfully for a National Science Foundation Advance Grant in which innovative ideas were taken to help women in the sciences on campus. And we have a very, very strong complement of high-level women administrators throughout both campuses. So we've done better in that way. We're still a long way from where we ought to be, considering the talent pool, the female talent pool in the country, but we've had a positive trajectory. In terms of racial diversity, we've had a mixed record. We've had some successes going forward, and some areas where we did not get as far as we needed to get. How to deal with that, as opposed to just talk about it and tell you that we are on the way but falling short. When I was president at the University of Iowa, going on a decade ago, I tried a certain approach in which we had a high-level diversity champion reporting to the president of the university, a so-called chief diversity officer. And too often, when we were up against some challenge, some other leader would tell me, well, you have a chief diversity officer, that's her issue. So what we're doing here with a lot of good advice from Dr. Murphy and from Vice President for Human Resources and Safety Services, Mary Opperman, and Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education, Laura Brown, and Lynette Chappell-Williams, Associate Vice President in HR and Safety Services, and many others, we're trying an inverted approach that we just finished our first year of, called Toward New Destinations. And what it means is that accountabilities are now spread broadly on the campus. The Board of Trustees holds me accountable for certain specific things. I hold our 2 excellent provosts Ken Fox and Lori Glimsher in New York City, while Cornell accountable for certain goals that they establish. They in turn hold department heads or here deans accountable. And the goals are not limited to compositional diversity, which is what you're asking about, which is critical, but it's just the start of the story. If you recruit someone as a student, staff, or faculty, and you can't retain him or her, then you have a wasted effort in the recruitment. And so everybody has to have compositional diversity as a goal for their accountability, but also some other attributes to be measured and sought after, more related to climate, inclusiveness, and actual achievement of the person in the position, success, graduation rate. And I want to also give credit, and I know that Vice President Murphy would join me, in the student body, we had a gap in the graduation rate, still have a gap for African American males, undergraduate education, and a very interesting advance was made, I hope you'll agree with me, from the student body itself, developing a program, the acronym is SWAG, S-W-A-G, and created by young men in the student body that had some ideas about how to help each other and develop programs going forward. That gap has begun to shrink quite considerably, and Vice President Murphy actually institutionalized that program created by students to keep the momentum going. So it's a very, very important question, and I'm glad to say the last question from the class of '83 today. Up there, upstairs.
Just a quick question. You obviously spoken this morning about the great faculty at Cornell. What is Cornell doing in terms of teaching online and exposing Cornell's faculty beyond Ithaca to learners all over the world?
So this is such a critical question. Just in case you didn't hear it, the question was, what are we doing with online education? You know, one of the big topics of discussion in the world. Well, in some areas, Cornell's been way ahead of the curve, and in some areas, not so much. The ahead of the curve part we have to recognize that some areas of Cornell have been doing online education for a while. The Johnson School, for example, at programs that are given online in Canada and elsewhere for some time. And eCornell, I guess we could call it a spin-off of Cornell, would that be a fair term, has taught in a certificate kind of program or executive kind of education, tens of thousands of people in 200 countries over the years. But you're asking about the more recent, I think, the more recent emergence of massive open online courses, MOOCs, and other things. And Provost Fox and members of the Faculty Senate and other faculty leaders on campus and deans have spent, can I say, a year or so looking into this. And recently we joined edX, consortium started by Harvard and MIT, and are going to begin to do that in an increasing way in the next year. All around the country, as you probably noticed, there's been a backlash, to greater or lesser extent, depending where you're talking about, from faculty members. Some of that people are attributing to, sort of selfish concerns about their own livelihoods and what's going to happen if a terrific professor at Cornell is giving a lecture that people listen to all over the world. I must say, not wanting to, seem like a dinosaur, I do think we have a lot of things to work out in terms of online education. The early experience with MOOCs is that the completion rate was quite low, less than 20%, something like that. And so we have to make sure we understand how to work this out so people complete it, what's the business model going to be, how will we know whether things are actually working in terms of student learning outcomes. But there's no doubt that this is going to cause changes, and maybe very, very significant changes, and maybe, as the term goes, disruptive changes. So in some areas, we've been ahead of the curve, and in the areas that I think you're talking about, we're on the way now. So thank you, and you can Google on Cornell Chronicle. It's a fabulous, fabulous website created by Vice President for University Communications, Tommy Bruce, and his colleagues. A huge wealth of data can be found through our website. You can find a lot of things about MOOCs on there. Good morning.
Good morning. Of those 3,000 students who are starting in August, what percentage will graduate, would you estimate, and how long will it take them to graduate? And if those numbers are different from our class of 1953, could you explain why?
I don't know what the 53 numbers are. The numbers right now at Cornell are very, very impressive. Graduation rate here is over 90%, and I'm here to tell you that's not true all over the country. So graduation rate is very, very high at Cornell, and the vast majority do finish in 4 years. The question that we're all struggling with is, now what? Now that you graduated. And, you know, it's been tough out there. My son was a Stanford graduate in 08, 09. I think I can safely say the worst part of the recession. And it was a struggle, you know, to find work, even coming from Stanford. So I'm always worried about graduation rates. I'm worried about them in terms of different demographic groups in the country, as I was just talking about a few minutes ago. I'm concerned about people's career choices, what majors they choose, whether the country is going to get to be too vocationally oriented. I don't look down my nose at being vocationally oriented, but there is a broader breadth of knowledge that we all need to have to be knowledgeable citizens and so on. But I think graduation rate here, everything could always be better, but I think it's very, very robust. And then the placement rate in all of the places, undergraduate, graduate, professional schools, the faculty and the deans, the leaders are, and the career services are redoubling their efforts to make that transition.
Could I have a precision medicine answer, please, to the
About you?
No.
Okay.
To the response of the vast majority finish within, what percentage would you say, with a precision medical answer, would
93 is a
4 years?
93 is a 6-year rate, and that's the national standard, is a 6-year rate. And the reason it's a 6-year rate is that across the country, people's lives change, people stop, people get ill, people change, people transfer. I don't know what a 4-year rate is here. I actually did know it. It's something in the low to mid 80s, 84, 85. And other schools in the AAU public schools have 6-year graduation rates in the 70s, the 4-year graduation rates in the 50s or 60s, depending on the school. So I don't know what your rate was in 53, but these are very, very high rates.
Well, but the point of the question really is that I don't think these figures applied to my class and many other classes here. And why?
You mean you thought you had a lower rate?
I'm sorry?
Do you think your rate was lower in 53?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do you think your rate was lower in 53 or higher?
No, much higher. I
don't think so. I don't think so. But I tell you what, the short answer is I don't actually know, but here's what I'll do. If you can do me a favor, come take my card, send me an email so I know how to reach you. I'll work with Susan, and Dr. Murphy, we'll get an answer to you. What's your name?
Gil Wallerstein.
Wallerstein? Weilstein, okay. So give me, I'm going to be out of town for a couple of days. We'll get back to you, Dr. Murphy, a couple of weeks? Okay, good. Appreciate it. Okay. We got time for one more question up there.
Thank you. I'm Jose Vanderhorst from the Dominican Republic. I went to the electrical engineering school. I've been dealing with the electric power restructuring issues for quite some time. And I wonder whether the approach of the integration of renewables to the grid is going to go up to the level of a customer orientation.
So you're asking me something, there's a lot of things outside of my expertise, and this is only one of them. Since I got my driver's license, I've been keeping, which is many years ago, I've been keeping track of the number of things that are outside my expertise. It's around 12,000 now, and this is one of them. So, and actually, Ken Fox is a fault-tolerant computing guy. He would have like no clue. So I think is that fair? I think that's fair, yeah. So I don't mean in general. In general, he's got clues about a lot of things. So I honestly don't know. You also write me a note. I'll ask Julio Giordano. We'll get back to you. Not Julio Giordano. I'll ask and get back to you. It's david.skorton@cornell.edu. Skorton. It was Skortinsky when my dad came from Russia. That's true, and he changed it to Skorton, and I asked him why he changed it to Skorton, and he said Skorton was a classic American name. That's what he said. It is. And, wait a minute. A second here. A second. Now, God bless my dad. He's been gone these 34 years, but we used to argue about this kind of stuff. And I said to him, Dad, it's not an American name. And his answer to me always was, what do you know from America? That's what he used to say. And he said to me, we had a family shoe store, my dad, my mom, me, and one other employee, and he said, what do you think is an American name that we could have chosen from Skortinsky? And I said, Kennedy, Rockefeller, those are American names. And you know what he said to me? After he said, you know nothing from America, he said, you go work the inventory in the back of the shoe store. I'll take care of the family name. That's what he told me. So thank you. Write me a note. And are we going to do the alma mater? Yeah. One thing. We're going to do the alma mater now. We're going to finish up real quick. But I want to take one more moment to thank you because I'm going to miss Corneliana tonight. First time since I've been president, I have to do something that I just have to do, and I won't be at Corneliana. But I want to thank you. I hope you guys have a fabulous night tonight. And anything that came up that you wanted to talk about or ask me about or criticize Provost Fox about through me, send me an email, david.skorton@cornell.edu, and we'll be in touch. I love all of you. Thank you for coming. Go Big Red!
President Skorton, thank you for your commitment to Cornell and for the leadership that continues to inspire generations of Cornellians.
And now, please stand and join After Eight in the Hangovers in singing the alma mater.